This is 2,000 years old. This is the Aqueduct of Segovia in Spain, and it still delivers clean water today. No pump, no filter, no maintenance crew. Now look at this, Flint, Michigan, 2014. Mothers lining up for water because the water in their homes was poisoning their children. In the richest country on earth. 2,000 years separate these two systems, and somehow the older one is safer. The Romans are winning. And before this video ends you will understand exactly why. Let me give you a number. 9 million. That's how many lead pipes are still buried under American cities, not in the past, not decades ago. Right now, today, every day water flows through them, into homes, into kitchens, into glasses, into children's bodies. And most people don't even know they exist. Most people think Flint was a freak accident, a one-time failure. One bad decision. It was. Here's what actually happened. In 2014, officials made a simple decision. Change the water source. Why? To save money. How much? $5 million, that's it. But the new water was more corrosive. And no one treated it. So the water started eating the pipes, slowly, quietly, invisibly. Within months, the lead levels exploded, 27 times above safety limits. 100,000 people were drinking it. Children were being poisoned. A 4-year-old child tested with lead levels high enough to permanently damage brain development. Not temporary, not treatable, permanent of it, to save $5 million, and Flint wasn't unique. 5 years later, Newark, New Jersey, same pipes, same problem, same poison. Then in 2022, Jackson, Mississippi. The entire system failed. Not a leak, not a warning, the whole system. 150,000 people had no running water. For weeks in America, in the 21st century, engineers have already graded this system. The American Society of Civil Engineers gave it a C-. That is not a passing grade. And fixing it, replacing every lead pipe still in the ground, would cost between $45 and $60 billion. With no clear national plan to actually do it. So step back for a second. We are the most advanced civilization in history. We went to the moon. We carry supercomputers in our pockets. We can read the code of life itself. And we can deliver clean water. 2,000 years ago, a civilization without electricity, without computers, without modern engineering, built systems that are still working today. 2,000 years later, we are still losing to them. So the question is no longer if something is broken. The question is, what did they know that we forgot? So who were these people, and what exactly did they build? Let's go back. Year 100 AD. 1 million people lived in this city. 1 million in a single place, at a time when most cities in Europe had fewer than 10,000. London wouldn't reach that size for another 700 years. Paris wouldn't either, and every single one of those people had water. Every day, not from a well, not from a river, from a system. 11 aqueducts, 500 kilometers of channels, tunnels and bridges, delivering 1 billion liters of water, every single day. 1 billion, without a single pump. Without electricity, just gravity and mathematics. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. The first aqueduct, Aqua Appia. Built in 312 BC, that's over 300 years before Julius Caesar was even born, and it kept working for over 700 years. One project, 7 centuries of water. Then came Aqua Claudia, 69 kilometers long, built entirely by hand. At certain points, it crosses entire valleys, on stone arches, 28 meters high, no cranes. No machines, no power tools, just stone, mortar and knowledge. And then Pont du Gard, a 3-level aqueduct bridge. 49 meters tall, built 2,000 years ago, still standing today, no major cracks, no structural failure. 2,000 years, still here. And then Segovia, the one you saw at the beginning, it didn't run for decades. It didn't run for centuries. It ran for 19 centuries. And it didn't stop because it failed. It did to stop because it broke. It stopped because people chose to stop using it. The system itself was still working. Now think about that. A system designed 2,000 years ago was still working in 1973. Now here's the part that should worry you. The Romans calculated all of this by hand, no gap piece, no computers, no laser tools, across hundreds of kilometers. The average slope, 1 centimeter, for every 48 meters, and they maintained that precision across the entire system, by hand 2,000 years ago, and they got it right, every time. This wasn't luck. This was design. They didn't just build pipes, they built a system, designed to outlast every empire, including their own, and somehow, we lost that. So now you've seen what they built. The real question is, how, and more importantly, why did it last? Because the answer is not what anyone expected. For a long time, people thought they knew Roman concrete, volcanic ash, lime, water, simple, problem solved, except it wasn't. Every time scientists tried to recreate it, it failed, it cracked, it aged, it broke, something was missing. Nobody knew what, until they looked closer, much closer. What they found wasn't outside the system. It was inside it. The inner walls of every Roman water channel were coated with something unusual. A material called opus signinum lime, volcanic ash, crushed ceramic, roof tiles, broken pottery, ground down and mixed together. No chemicals, no synthetic sealants, and yet it was naturally waterproof. But that's not the secret. Not even close. Because the Romans didn't just move water. They treated it. Before water entered the city, it passed through layers: coarse sand, fine sand, charcoal, gravel, 4 layers, built 2,000 years ago. Before modern filtration even existed. And then distribution, a system called the Castellum Divisorium. 3 outputs: public fountains, public baths, private homes, and when water was scarce, private supply was cut first. Then baths. Public drinking water was protected. Always they built fairness into the system. But even that still isn't the real secret. Because the most important thing they built wasn't designed, it happened over time. As water flowed, something formed inside the channels, a layer, calcium carbonate, hard, dense, mineral, slowly building up on the inner walls. Now today, engineers see this as a problem: buildup, blockage, something to remove. But the Romans did something different. They built a system where that layer didn't block the flow, it lined the walls, and as it hardened, it became armor, protecting the channel, protecting the material, getting stronger every year, for centuries. Now compare that: a modern lead pipe. Water flows through it, corrosion begins, lead enters the water, and the longer it sits, the more dangerous it becomes. The Roman pipe gets safer with age, the modern pipe gets more dangerous. One system improves over time, the other decays. One was built to last, the other was built to be replaced. And we chose it. Now here's something most people never learn. When Rome fell, the knowledge didn't die, it moved east to a city called Constantinople. And what happened there changed everything. Constantinople didn't just inherit Roman engineering. It continued it, the same materials, the same techniques, and the same idea: built to last, not to be replaced. So they kept building. In 368 AD, long after Rome had begun to decline, a new aqueduct was built, the Aqueduct of Valens. Massive stone arches stretching across the city, and today those arches are still there, not in ruins, not in a museum. In the middle of Istanbul, cars drive past them every day, and most people don't even look up. But that's not the most incredible part. The real masterpiece was built underground in 532 AD, under Emperor Justinian. They built a reservoir, but not a simple one: the Basilica Cistern, 336 marble columns, each one 9 meters tall, standing in perfect rows beneath a vaulted ceiling, holding 80 million liters of water, in reserve, for droughts, for sieges, for emergencies. No matter what happened above ground, the city would never run out of water. And it's still there, beneath Istanbul, intact, still holding water, after 1500 years. Now think about that. Rome built the system, Constantinople expanded it, and then in 1453, the city fell again, a new empire took over. Different language, different religion, different people. And what did they do with the system? So now you know what the Romans built, how it worked, and why it lasted, and you know we lost it. So the question is, why? How do you lose something that works this well? The answer isn't stupidity, it isn't ignorance. It's something much more familiar: speed. Go back to the 19th century. Cities were exploding, millions of people flooding in. New York, Chicago, London, growing faster than anyone could control. They needed water systems immediately. And they needed them cheap, so they made a choice: lead, 10 times cheaper than copper, soft, easy to bend, easy to install. One worker could lay pipe fast, entire streets in days. So cities chose lead, not because they wanted to harm people, but because it was faster and cheaper, and the danger, invisible, at first. But the warnings came early. 1897, a scientist named Thomas Oliver published clear evidence: lead in drinking water was making people sick. The data was solid, the conclusion was clear, and then it disappeared, not by accident. The lead industry stepped in. They funded new studies that said lead was safe. They pressured governments, they delayed regulation. Decade after decade you've seen this before: tobacco, asbestos, same strategy: deny, delay, profit. And it worked for almost a century. It wasn't until 1986 that new lead pipes were banned, almost 90 years after Thomas Oliver first warned us. But here's the part that matters: the law banned new pipes. It did nothing about the old ones, so they stayed in the ground, in cities, in homes, still carrying water, still carrying poison, right now. And then Flint, you already know what happened. But here's what most people miss. There was no villain in a dark room, no mastermind, just people doing their jobs, balancing budgets. Following a system built on one idea, cheap, fast, replaceable, instead of permanent. That's the real failure. Not evil design. We built a system that rewards short-term decisions and hides long-term damage. The Romans made a different choice. Their system got stronger with time. Ours gets more dangerous. That's not fate, that's not bad luck, that's a decision, one we made and one we can change. So where does that leave us? Right now, today, because this isn't history, this is happening now, in American cities, and some of them are getting it right. And some of them are still getting it wrong. Let's start with wrong. Chicago, 400,000 lead pipes. The most in the country, at the current pace. It will take over 50 years to replace them. 50 years. That means a child born today could grow up, grow old and still be drinking from those pipes. That's not a solution. That's a delay. Now Baltimore, different city, same pattern. Instead of replacing the system, they patch it. One break, another emergency after emergency, and now the total cost of those repairs is higher than replacing the system would have been. They chose cheap and paid more. Now here's the part that matters. Not every city is failing. Newark, New Jersey, same crisis as Flint, lead in the water, pipes failing. Most cities take decades to respond. Newark took 3 years to replace every lead pipe in the city. To the fastest in American history. How? Not new technology, not a breakthrough, a decision. They made it a priority. And then they did it. Newark proves something uncomfortable. This is not a technical problem. It never was. It's a choice. Now look at Denver. Engineers there are testing a new idea. A ceramic lining inside old pipes. It seals the surface, stops corrosion, and gets stronger over time. Sound familiar? It should, because it's the same principle the Romans used 2,000 years ago. Think about that. We are spending millions to recreate something artificially that they got naturally from the ground beneath their feet. That should humble us, or it should make you angry. Probably both. So here's the real lesson. The cities getting it right are not using better technology. They were using better priorities. The same ones the Romans used. Build for the next generation, not the next budget cycle. So this is where we are. The problem is real, the scale is massive, and the solution was never lost. We just stopped looking at it. Because something unexpected is happening. Scientists are going back. Not forward, back to Rome. Researchers at MIT, at Berkeley, universities across Europe, all studying the same question. Not how to invent something new, but how something so old worked so well, and what they found changes everything. The volcanic ash the Romans used, pozzolana, doesn't weaken in water, it reacts, it bonds, it gets stronger. Over time, year after year, the longer it exists, the stronger it becomes. Now think about that, every year of use. Didn't damage the system, it improved it. The water itself was maintaining the structure, automatically. For free, for centuries. Now compare that to us. Every modern pipe is designed to fail. 50 years. Maybe 100, then replacement again. Forever. We built a system that survives by being replaced. They built one that survives by getting better, and now we're trying to catch up. Researchers have already created new coatings for modern pipes, inspired by Roman chemistry, applied inside old systems. They create a protective layer, one that grows stronger over time. Early results suggest pipes could last 200 years or more, not by inventing something new, but by remembering something old. Europe is already moving. The Netherlands, Germany, France, rebuilding systems, using ancient ideas. The United States, still studying, still testing, still deciding, while millions of lead pipes sit underground waiting. The answer exists, it has always existed. For 2,000 years, the only question left is this: are we willing to learn from it? So let's go back to where we started. Segovia, Spain, 2,000 years old, still standing, still here. Now think about this: the engineer who designed that aqueduct never saw a car, never saw electricity, never imagined the world we live in today. But he built something that would still be standing when that world arrived. He wasn't building for his generation, he wasn't building for the next one. He was building for all of them. Every generation that would come after. Now look at us. We design bridges to last 100 years. Pipes that last 50. Buildings designed to be replaced. Within a single lifetime, we done build for the future. We build for the next budget cycle. And somewhere in that gap, between a Roman engineer who built for eternity and a modern system that builds to replace, are millions of pipes underground, and children who cannot drink their water. Not because we done to know better, not because we can fix it, but because we chose not to. Now I am not saying we should go back. The Romans didn't have modern medicine. They didn't have modern science. We have things they never did. But they had something we lost. A philosophy. Build it right the first time. Build it to last. Build it for people you will never meet. That philosophy built the Pantheon. It built Pont du Gard. It built the Basilica Cistern. It built systems that outlived empires, and it's still here, not in books, not in museums, in stone, in water, in a structure in Spain. That has been working for 2,000 years. The Romans didn't build for speed, they built for permanence. And 2,000 years later, we are still living inside their decisions. The question is not whether we have the knowledge. We do. Not whether we have the technology. We do. The only question is this: what kind of future are we building? One that lasts, or one that needs to be replaced? Because 2,000 years from now, someone will be living inside the answer. What will they inherit from us?